What's up, y'all? So, today I want to talk about something very near and dear to my heart. Something I've struggled with my whole life, and that is abandonment issues, right? And the quote that came up to my mind was, "You abandoned me because you first abandoned yourself. Then I abandoned myself because you abandoned me." Now, think about that. Sometimes when somebody leaves you, the first thing you ask is, how could you do this to me? How? How is this possible? Right? But maybe they did it to themselves first. Maybe long before they stopped loving you correctly, they stopped loving themselves correctly. Long before they stopped listening to you, they've already stopped listening to their own conscience. Long before they broke promises to you, they had already started breaking promises to themselves, right? People don't always wake up one morning and suddenly become someone else. Something had to happen along the way, right? And we don't know what that is. And sometimes if we, sounds crazy, but stop being selfish and put ourselves in their shoes, right? In the state of mind maybe that they were in with drugs in their system, and because that's a disease, right? You don't just choose to, I think one time you choose, or maybe twice you choose to do drugs, crack, heroin, or whatever, and then the next few times it's not of your own will. That thing just grabs a hold of you and just takes you, and it's nothing you could do about it. I struggle with weed, so I can't judge them. Like, how possible, right? So if I take just a step back and put myself in their shoes, I go, wow, maybe they've been whatever molested and all this stuff, and they spend their whole lives after just protecting themselves and trying to protect you or whatever. There's other different reasons why people hurt and hurt others and hurt you, hurt me, and abandon us or whatever because they don't want to hurt us or whatever the state of mind. But just try to step back for a second and grasp what they might have been dealing with. And it's not always of their own will. So, yeah. Sometimes they disappear from themselves slowly. They compromise something here, there, right? Ignore something. Stop confronting what hurts them. Stop dealing with what scares them. Stop being honest about what they need. They start accepting things they once said they would never accept. They start becoming comfortable with versions of themselves they once would have been ashamed to meet. All right? And eventually, they meet the consequences of that. Everything has a consequence. You reap what you sow. And yeah. And sometimes people have been sowing something so long before you even got here that it was inevitable that they were going to abandon you or whatever, or abuse you or whatever. They've been abused. Their parents before them been abused. They've parents before them been abused. Like, it didn't just start with you. And if it doesn't end with you, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay? But you just have to notice these things. Right. So eventually they meet the consequences of that, or you meet the consequences of that, unfortunately. Because when someone abandons themselves, everybody connected to them eventually feels it. You start asking them for things that they no longer know how to give: honesty, consistency, affection, patience, accountability. But how can someone give you a home inside of them when they don't even live there anymore? That's the part that hurts a lot. Because you may have to meet them when they were still fighting for themselves. You fell in love with that person. Then somewhere along the way, they just stopped fighting. And because you loved them, you stayed close enough to watch them become somebody you didn't recognize. Here's the dangerous part. There's abandonment. Their abandonment of their selves can teach you to abandon yourself too. Watching them leave themselves can teach you to just not love yourself. Why did they abandon me? You know, it neglect trickles down, whatever. Shit, excuse my language, rolls downhill. Okay? You always bear the consequences of your parents because you want to be like them, right? Or whatever. Okay, so they stop choosing you, so you start questioning whether you're worth choosing. They stop communicating, so you start silencing yourself, right? What's wrong with me? And you forget who you are trying to please them. It's the craziest thing ever. They become distant, so you start working twice as hard trying to earn the closeness that used to come naturally. You start changing your standards. You forgive things that are destroying you. You explain away disrespect. You call anxiety love. You call survival commitment. You call losing yourself fighting for the relationship. And without realizing it, you've done exactly what hurt you in the first place. They abandon themselves, then they abandon you. Then you abandon yourself trying to keep them. That's how the wound travels. That's how somebody else's broken relationship with themselves become your broken relationship with yourself. And that's why healing can not only be about getting over that person. You have to go back and find the parts of yourself you left behind while trying to keep them. Go find your voice. Go find your standard again. Go find the things you enjoyed before your entire emotional life became centered around whether somebody was staying or leaving. Go find the version of you who didn't need another person's consistency to know your own value, because you may never be able to stop another person from abandoning themselves. You may never be able to love somebody hard enough to make them confront themselves. You may never be able to convince somebody to become whole. That's their work to do. But you do have a responsibility to make sure their departure from themselves does not become your departure from yourself. Sometimes forgiving means understanding. You didn't destroy me because I wasn't valuable. You couldn't hold me because somewhere along the way, you stopped holding yourself. And I have compassion for that. I think, God, please help me. I can understand your wounds. I can understand why you became who you became. But understanding why you abandoned me does not have to keep me abandoning myself, which I still do, I must admit. At some point, somebody has to stop the cycle. So if you left yourself trying to keep somebody else, come back. Not to the person you were before you met them. You've seen too much for that, right? come back as somebody wiser, somebody who understands that love should require sacrifice, yes, but entire identity should never be the sacrifice, not yours. Because maybe the deepest lesson isn't they left me, boo hoo, right? Maybe it's when they left themselves, they eventually left me too. And for a while, I followed them because I'm not following them anymore. But I'm not following them anymore. And yeah, I could have clipped that, but I messed up. I still might clip it. Who knows? But yeah, so it's just my little thoughts on abandonment. And I might come back to this topic because it's other things I didn't touch on. Now, this doesn't have to be about parents or, you could be abandoned in so many ways. You could feel abandoned at work because you spend most of your time there, right? Doing doubles, doing this, doing that. Some of us do triples, and we're not supposed to, but we do it, right? So you could see that the corporation, it has happened to me, that they don't care, so you just don't care. And you spend most of your time there, so you spend your life essentially not caring. And it hurts, and it trickles down. So don't do that to yourself for any reason, for anyone. And I hope this was good or whatever. So thanks.